Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode talking about Amazon's All or Nothing documentary on Tottenham Hotspur. We are on to episode 5 now, so if you have not watched episode 5, go watch that. I'm going to be talking about spoilers, all that stuff. Anyways, let's get to it. This was one of my favorite episodes. I think you know why if you watched it. Okay, we start off with the transfer window and a boardroom meeting with Daniel Levy, and he's talking about, okay, well, Harry's injured and Musa Sissoko's injured, and so we need a midfielder and a striker. Funny how, as the episode just goes on, there's no talk of a striker. There's no talk of a search for a striker. There's no talk of people we were interested in. It was just Steven Bergvine, which we'll get to. But I kind of wanted to see them struggle to get a striker. I feel like it would have cleared things up for fans, you know? Like, everyone was like, we were linked to that guy in La Liga. I forget his name. And then we were linked to Piatek and all that stuff. And, you know, to their credit, Levy and Hitchin kind of mentioned it's going to be very hard to find a striker, especially in January, because teams knew we were looking for a striker, and to get a striker that fits the profile Mourinho wants, fits the personality of the squad, fits the play style, everything. It's a hard thing. And also, because we're undergoing a rebuild, we need someone we can kind of rely on for the future. So it was a difficult situation, and I understand it. It's interesting how Levy classifies us. There's only so few players we can get that other clubs are not also aware of, because all the big teams kind of do their shopping in the same place, and all the big teams know of the big players and the people that everyone else wants. So, yeah, I loved the conversation between Chris, Ben, and Harry. It was so funny because Ben was just like, look at all these transfers, like, this is insane. I don't understand like what's going on anymore. Like, January is such a weird time. It used to be like teams would just be settled and you would just have players that would be developed, and then no players would come in. You would just use your squad, develop the players, and it would just be the teams, it would just be the players that were there. And then Chris was just like, that's how it is, though, which is really funny because obviously he moves on in this episode. But I just found the conversation kind of fascinating, and I really like Ben Davies's insight. So that was pretty cool. I also like how Chris was like, yeah, I mean, back in 2011, Harry Kane's foot would have been worth like 200 million or something. That's hilarious. And Harry's just like, not with the hammy, mate. Yeah. It was nice seeing Steve Hitchin. I didn't think we would see him. I don't know why, but yeah, it is cool seeing just one of the people on the scouting department, obviously in a bigger role this year. But I thought he came off pretty well. I thought he came off as a guy who was passionate about helping the squad, getting the right player for our team, and building the personality of our team, as well as undergoing the rebuild. He understands where we are as a club, and he understands what players we need to get to the next level. It's just hard to get those players in sometimes. I thought he came off well. And then on the Chris stuff, we finally get to kind of the nitty-gritty of the Chris transfer. You get to see Chris talking about the openness of him just saying, yeah, I want a new challenge. I'm 27. I realize my playing career, everyone's playing career is short, and I want to just do as much as I can in that amount of time. And completely fair. Just completely fair. What an adamant professional he was throughout his time, especially in that period. It's just nice to hear some transparency from Chris, because a lot of things were going around about money and whatever, but he makes it very clear he just wants a new challenge, and just such a professional. We get to the Watford game. Gazzaniga has a great save, and then that freaking Lamella goal. I forget how close that was. 3 points at the end of the year could have been so big for us. We still, like, I'm going to make a Premier League prediction table. Just you wait. But we were so close to being so much better than we were this year so many times. It's just, yeah. I dislike how much they're discounting Gio. Maybe he doesn't want to be on camera. Maybe they just don't have enough footage of like Gio's best moments for us, and he's kind of a hard player to hype up because he doesn't really score much or whatever. But you cannot discount how big of a player Gio was for us in this moment in time. Probably like our best player besides Son this year. Just, I wanted more. I wanted Gio to have an interview, even if it was in Spanish, just let him ramble. Whatever. I want to see Gio. Same with Tanguy, because Tanguy scores this. Tanguy doesn't score. He assists Son's goal in the Manchester City game, and it's just brushed over. Everything Tanguy does, everything associated with Tanguy, is just brushed over. And I kind of understand why, because, he's a controversial figure and his future is uncertain, and he was a big club signing, and he also doesn't speak great English yet. But also, he's the club signing, and there were moments you could have touched on with Jose and him. Maybe we'll still see that in the future. I don't know. Just thought I would throw that out there. We get to the big conversation in this episode, the Danny Rose conversation. I have a few thoughts on this. It's fascinating to see it. Like, it's such a personal conversation. The way in which he confronts Mourinho, just what's wrong? I want to know what's wrong. There's obviously something wrong. I think Danny just doesn't understand his role now. Like, Jose, I think he handled the situation really, really well. I think most people have the opinion that Jose does not like when players try to be above him and confront him against his decisions, and he doesn't. But Jose was just like, okay, you trained well before Liverpool. You played in Liverpool. You were bad. I benched you. Jaffet came in. He did well. That's why he's playing. Simple, easy. I understand it. Like, why can't Danny Rose understand that the squad is more than just, these are the best players in this position, and that's how we're going to play the whole year, regardless of form. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how football works. That's just not how you build a team, right? Like, you have to do it based on what's right for every situation. And in that moment in time, Japhet Tanganga was our best left back, which is bad. However, it's still better than Danny Rose was. So he has to just understand that. He was not performing well in the beginning of the year, and he wasn't performing when Jose came in. And I think he just has a little bit of a misconception about his ability, which is okay. It's good to have confidence in your ability, but when he asked, like, have you heard anything about Milan? I don't think there were many Spurs supporters that didn't kind of chuckle at that moment. It's just, like, we love Danny Rose. We appreciate him for all he's done, but he's just not on that level anymore. And he hasn't been since his injuries. That's just how it is. Danny was super confrontational, and we kind of knew that's how he was. But yeah, I mean, obviously I don't think he handled it perfectly. I think he kind of needs some perception, as Mourinho was saying. He needs some kind of bigger vision of what the club wanted at that moment from him. And he just didn't fit Jose's play style. He didn't fit the defensive left back. If you were going to play him, you need Serge and him to take the same kind of role. And yeah, it just didn't work out for Danny. And Daniel subsequently was like, ideally, we want him on a long-term contract. somewhere, but a lot of these clubs just don't want him. But at the end of the day, they were just like, get him out. Like, we need him to just be gone, because I think it really was messing with that togetherness that Steve Hitchen, Jose, and all those other players were talking about. The togetherness of the squad, the personality, and the new era of Tottenham Hotspur. For us to move forward, players like that and Chris, as much as we hate it, needed to move on. It was a fascinating conversation. I loved that moment. Oh my God. Besides that, the biggest thing in this episode with Hugo Lloris being back. What I didn't understand how good of a captain Hugo was. Like, I understand that most of what he was saying was the same stuff Harry Kane and Jose were saying, but he did it with, I don't know, the hype behind him, something that cannot be taught, something that cannot be just given to someone. It's not something that everyone just has, but he just has that hype in him. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it. But when I listened to him, I was like, yes, get in, Hugo. Like, I was like, yes, I am pumped up. I want to go out there and fight. Like, that's the kind of vibe I got from it. Hugo, big, I understand. Like, I understand Hugo now, and I really, really enjoy it. I really love every single speech he gives. Just so much intention behind it. Yeah, it must have been such a much bigger deal than we were making it out to be, to have lost Hugo for that much, just for his presence in the dressing room. He just seems like such a good, consistent figure to have motivating the team. Then we have the final really big conversation with Chris, and that's a very big contrast with him and Danny Rose. Like, Chris is just so professional. The way he handles Daniel and the way he handles Jose is just so professional. He's just like, I understand the situation of the club right now. I understand finances are not good because you want to get in new players, and right now the team is doing bad because we're missing a lot of players, and you need to get money from my sale, and I understand that, and I'm willing to wait. I really want to move on. I think just try a new challenge, and I'm glad you understand that. And also, I want to make clear that I'm not leaving for financial reasons. It's just what I want. And Jose and Levy, you can tell, we just appreciate that. They're just like, thank you for your service. There's no bad blood between us. Thank you. And, we will try to get this deal done. And they do, luckily. Sadly, it hasn't worked out for Chris yet. But, yeah, it was a thing that needed to happen. And I'm really glad it worked out like that. I'm glad we got to see some closure from Chris. And also, the Norwich game is a good send-off for Chris. It was a win. And he played a little bit of a part in it. Had the pre-assist to the goal that won us the game, and yeah, it's just nice. We can't underestimate how many points Chris gave us this year. There were so many times he just came off the bench, changed the game, gave us a little spark of creativity that we did not have before. Instead of just crossing it, hoping for someone to score, he would do through balls. He would switch the play. He is the creative spark that we were missing a lot of the year, and I'm pretty sure Jose was very happy to use him to rescue some points sometimes. So his influence will be missed. Yeah, then we see the send-off of Danny Rose, kind of. He's sitting at a lunch table with Daniel Levy in the middle of like all the other players, and they're just discussing the transfer openly, which is something I didn't think happened, but interesting. Either way, it was cool to see that. Any news about Milan? Yeah, sorry, Danny. And then finally we get to Steven Bergvine. What a signing. It's an underrated signing. I think it's an underrated signing by opposition fans, and it's an underrated signing by us. I think a lot of people just forget that we have a young very exciting winger that has shown his talent in the Premier League already when it usually takes a while to situate. But he just hit the ground running. He seems like a really nice family guy. He seems very mature for his age. Yeah, it's just interesting to see the kind of character he is. It was nice to see Daniel Levy welcoming him in, and also having the little FaceTime conversation with Jose, being like, you better be ready for Manchester City. It's a big game. So, yeah, that was kind of cool. And then Steven Bergvine's influence is then shown in the Manchester City game. He gave us that little bit of attacking impetus that we were lacking in recent games, just that exciting kind of talent. I think, the Manchester City game is just kind of what we are as a club. You can never count us out, even when even when everyone thinks like, oh, Tottenham don't have a chance here. You can never count us out, and you can also count on us to sometimes really fall flat. But at the end of the day, we can also come up with big results, like the Manchester City one. I think we just got in their heads. I really liked Jose's tactical analysis. There were some tactics in this one. He was saying don't lose the ball by doing stupid flicks and all this stuff, because Manchester City punish you with possession. That's just a fact. It would have been kind of nice for them to focus more on the Pep versus Mourinho rivalry. I understand with time, though. I think, the halftime talk is really big in Manchester City. The penalty save is another big moment. The Gundogan missed chance is a big moving factor as well. And you can tell City just get rattled sometimes, and they just kind of lose it in their heads. And Winks capitalized on that, and Jose was like, these three people have yellow cards, target them and just mess with them, get in the ref's head and like annoy the ref and stuff, play like Manchester City do because they win and they are mean and whatever. And he's right. Like, Manchester City are so bad to play against because you're just like, oh, these annoying tactical fouls, and then they complain to the ref and stuff. I mean, they're successful though. And Winks took advantage of that. I love that run. I love how mad Zinchenko gets. It's a great moment. And then we win the game. Amazing goal from Bergvine. It's just a really nice moment, and things are looking up again. But as you know, when things look up, they all come crashing down, and we'll see that next episode. Oh, wow. Anyways, if you enjoyed, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. I'm going to be making that Premier League table list soon. We'll see how well I can predict the league, even though I think it's one of the hardest things to do. I will see you guys tomorrow. Come on, you Spurs. See ya.